Hello everyone, I'm a little bit early, but this is Stephanie, your CSA coach. Also a change of scenery today because I have construction workers inside my house. So it's a little bit hectic, so I had to go live with you guys when I could kind of catch a break and things were a little bit quieter. So it is week 17 of our CSA shares. We are over halfway through, so we have 24 weeks total. We're on week 17. So we're starting to see a shift from our summer produce into more of our fall produce. We're seeing a little bit more greens, and we're also seeing some of our squash up here. So we'll see a rotation of different types of squash throughout the next few weeks. But we are still seeing some of the summer produce as well. But the U-picks are kind of shifted and over with. There's still herbs to pick, but mostly it's just stuff that we need to pick up. Remember, when you do pick up, when you go to the table and give Trisha or whoever's at the table your name, to the left is additional produce that you can purchase. So today there was sweet peppers, bulk sweet peppers. There's still bulk plum tomatoes. I know there was garlic. There was some onions. I can't even remember what else. But take a look at that if you are interested in additional produce. Jumping right into this week's share, we have tomatoes still. So we have beefsteak and red early girls. These stay on our counter at room temperature. Once you cut them, you do need to refrigerate them. You can make tomato salad with them. You can cook them down and make soups. There's a roasted tomato soup on the blog, which I was going to make this past week, but we ate all of the tomatoes, so I couldn't make that. There's also a roasted tomato sauce. We've literally just been slicing them up and enjoying them on salads, on sandwiches, just as a snack with a little bit of sea salt. They're so tasty and delicious. So they haven't made it very far in terms of cooking or recipes, but stored on the counter. Definitely some recipes on the blog. One that I haven't made this year that came out really good, I believe it was last year, was bruschetta. So take a look at that if you're looking for something different. That came out really good, and I kind of forgot about it till I stumbled upon the recipe again this year. So that's one that's kind of on my list to make again. So on the counter, in a cool dry place, are our onions. So we have 2 sweet onions stored in a cool dry place. They're cured. You can slice these thin and eat them raw. You can roast them. You can add them to sheet pan meals. You can add them to stir fries. You can add them to soups. You can add them to grill packets. You can add them to kebabs. So lots and lots and lots of options for onions. I know there's a caramelized onion recipe on the blog. There's a bunch of recipes lately that I've been using the onions for. So if you're looking for something different, take a look at the blog for that. We also have garlic. So the garlic is cured, also stored in a cool, dry place. Garlic we pretty much add to everything in our house. We were working on a recipe this past week, and I was like, I don't think it has enough garlic. And my husband's like, well, you love garlic. I think it's good. So I always have other people in the house taste test things for me because I like to double or triple the garlic in a recipe. You can eat this raw. You can add it to dressings or marinades. You can roast it and spread it on top of breads or toasts. You can serve it on like a charcuterie board. You can pickle garlic. So lots of different options there. Garlic is really good in terms of adding it to salsas, which we have a lot of ingredients we could use for a salsa or a pico de gallo this week, and to our soups and our different sauces that are on the blog. So garlic is used a lot in my house. We have lots of peppers. So we were able to pick 2 hot peppers. This is a poblano. Everything's labeled at the farm, so take a look at it. I think we had Santa Fe's, long hots, poblanos, Anaheim's maybe. Everything's labeled in terms of their heat index and what they're good to use for. So basically your hot peppers are used to add heat to a dish. Some of them are milder in flavor, so a poblano is a little bit milder. I could stuff these and just make a little bit of a heaty dish, but it's not going to be super, super spicy. But we can add these to salsas. We can roast them. We can add them to stir fries, but they're going to add a little bit of heat. Obviously, if we get like a long hot, which has more heat to it, then we're adding more heat to the dish if we use that. One trick, if you remove the membranes and the seeds from the pepper, it will reduce the heat index by a bit. So if you don't want as much heat, you can remove the membranes and seeds and you'll get less heat. But stored in the fridge in your crisper drawer. You can also freeze them. So if you have a lot of hot peppers left over from different weeks, you can throw them. I like to wash them, chop them up, throw them in a Ziploc bag, measure them out, and then I use that for different dishes throughout the winter. We have Cubanelle peppers stored in the crisper drawer of our fridge, and we also have sweet peppers, same storage in the crisper drawer of our fridge. These can all be eaten raw, or they can be roasted, they can be grilled, they can be added to grill packets, they can be used in the fajita sheet pan meal recipe on the blog. Pretty sure these guys are being used, the sweet peppers are being used in this week's recipe. Remember, you can purchase these in bulk. So if you like to freeze peppers or preserve them for the winter time, you can buy these in bulk as an add-on to your share, but all stored in the fridge. We have spinach. So our spinach is stored just like this. This is probably one of the first things you want to use this week. So I love spinach raw, just lightly dressed. I love the flavor of spinach, so I don't like to overwhelm it with a crazy, really flavorful dressing. I just keep it really simple. And then maybe add, like this time of year, you can add some sliced apples, maybe some nuts, and keep it super simple as a side. This is stored in the fridge just like this. Do not wash it until you're ready to use it. You can also cook it down. So you can saute it. You can make green cubes out of it. You can add it to smoothies. So there are other options. I just love the flavor of fresh spinach, so we tend to not cook it at all, but you can cook it. It really pairs well with eggs or as a side dish. So that's an option also. We have potatoes. Potatoes are stored in a cool, dry place. These are russets. We'll see a variety of different potatoes over the next few weeks. Potatoes are stored away from onions, so do not store them in the same bin as your onions and your garlic. We want to keep them separate, but also in a cool, dry place. These, you can bake them, you can roast them, you can grill them, you can turn them into French fries. I love to air fry potatoes. I actually think these are being used because we're having burgers tonight, so I think I'm going to air fry some potatoes for a side. You can make hash browns, you can make potato cakes, you can make mashed potatoes. There's several different recipes on the blog for potatoes as well, and I kind of interchange the different potatoes. I know they have different flavors, but I just like to use whatever I have on hand for the different recipes. So stored in a cool, dry place. We're seeing butternut squash. So butternut squash will last for a couple weeks, even months, stored in a cool, dry place. This can be roasted. One of my favorite ways to use butternut squash is in a soup. So I like to roast it and then blend it and then serve that in a soup. It's a little bit hot for soup for us this week, but I'll store this away and then the heat should break down or go away in the next few weeks, and then I'll probably make a big batch of butternut squash soup. You can also just roast it and serve it as a side. You can roast it and put a little honey or maple syrup on it, although it's pretty sweet on its own. But these are butternut squash stored in a cool, dry place. Okay, our last two items look very similar. So we have head lettuce. Head lettuce is stored in the fridge, used for salads, used for wraps, we will be using this on top of the burgers that we're having tonight. Generally used raw and used to enhance a dish. So either as your base for a salad or on top of wraps or sandwiches or burgers. So this is our lettuce. Looking very similar this week is our escarole. So I'll kind of back up here a little bit. But this is our lettuce. This is the escarole. The escarole tends to be wider and bigger, and the leaves are thicker and heartier. Like you'll be able, and you can taste, if you're unsure, taste them. Your lettuce will taste like lettuce, and your escarole will have a little bit of a bitter taste. Escarole is bitter. It's a bitter green. We can cook it down, we can saute it, you can eat it raw in salads. It pairs really well with like our pears and our peaches and our apples, some sort of fruit to give it that sweet flavor. You can add maple syrup and honey to the vinaigrette or your dish if you're serving it raw. And I like to do like a goat cheese or a little bit of a cheese just to pair well. You can also saute it down. It can just be served as a side green, just like our kale and our Swiss chard and all of our other greens. Or you can throw it into soup. So it really goes well with like a bean soup or an Italian wedding soup, or just a bean and escarole side dish. So also stored the same way as lettuce. They're both stored in the fridge in a plastic bag. So I will put, because the head of escarole is so big, this is going in a large Debbie Meyer green bag until we're ready to use it. So that is pretty much it for this week. Nice and easy, not too many new items. If you have questions or concerns or things that you want me to help you with, please make sure you tag me so I don't miss the post. Focus on what you have left over from last week, if you still have anything left over, and then work through this week's produce, probably focusing on your spinach first. So I still have a bunch of summer squash that I have left over, so I'm working through that and actually making some zucchini bread today, and then freezing and preserving some of my other produce because we have a whole new batch of produce today. All right, I will see you all again next Tuesday, and make sure you tag me in any posts. Thanks.